This week's episode of Toshiden talks about topics that might be upsetting to some listeners. It features frank discussion of murder and suicide. If you are struggling yourself, please don't hesitate to reach out for help and talk to somebody. Hello, and welcome to Toshiden, exploring Japanese urban legends. I'm your host, Tara A. Devlin, and on this show we'll be looking at different urban legends from Japan, how they came about, and, when possible, the truth behind them. Don't forget to join our newsletter at kawabana.net/newsletter to keep up to date with the latest Japanese horror news and get exclusive stories each week. I send out new and interesting urban legends I come across every now and then, so don't miss out. This week is a very special bonus episode, and officially, the last episode for this season. I recently released my book, Aokigahara, The Truth Behind Japan's Suicide Forest, which I've spent much of this year researching and putting together. To celebrate, I thought I'd take a look at some of the more interesting urban legends surrounding the forest and dig into the truth right here. I've handpicked just a small selection of legends from the book, so if you want even more, make sure you check it out. It's available on Amazon right now, and I'll include a link in the episode description, or you can find it on kawabana.net. So, without further ado, let's dig right in. Suicide Village. Perhaps Suicide Village isn't the best name for it, but one urban legend states that there is a village deep within Aokigahara where those who couldn't go through with committing suicide ended up forming their own society. There, hidden away from the rest of the world, they live a simple, peaceful lifestyle, reminiscent of the old days. No technology, no jobs, no debt. People work and live for themselves, away from the ever-watchful eye of the man. Sounds kind of nice, doesn't it? Who wouldn't want to get away from it all and start anew, where nobody cares who you are or what your life on the outside was like? Where your only worry is looking after yourself and perhaps filling any free time you might have. No taxes, no deadlines, no boss breathing down your neck, and nobody berating you over how much of a failure you are. It makes sense, right? Not everybody who enters Aokigahara to kill themselves can actually go through with it, and it's a big place. A lot of people set up tents to spend the night or a few days before they finally commit the deed. What if those people somehow found each other and started their own community away from the world? There is, however, no such village. In this day and age of drones and constant aerial surveillance, you would think such a village would be picked up from the air. Even the smallest gap in the trees would betray a village beneath their branches, not to mention how much space people would have to carve out to produce land for farming. If you're going to cut yourself off from the world, you need to eat somehow, and that involves growing your own food. As you can no doubt guess, Aokigahara isn't exactly the best place to farm. People have, in fact, tried to make the area habitable in the past. They were unsuccessful. Even if we suppose that these people don't grow farm food, but instead live as carnivores, there's not exactly a wealth of animals to feed on. Animals do live in the forest, yes, even large animals like bears and deer. But it's rare to come across them, and hunting across such treacherous terrain is more likely to leave the hunter injured than the prey. There is a village within Aokigahara, although it's not quite the village that people might expect from this tall tale. If you look at a map of Aokigahara from above, you'll see it beneath Lake Shoji. It's called Lake Shoji Inn Village because, like its name states, it's a village full of travelers' inns. Rumours on the internet have claimed that this village was the infamous suicide village, or even that it's a secret government facility hidden in the trees. Considering that it's right there on the map and anyone can walk around, enjoy some nice food in lovely restaurants, and spend the night in one of the many comfortable inns, that's highly unlikely. The village has its own grocery store, hairdresser, post office, and even a now abandoned elementary school. If you're looking for a juicy legend, this one isn't it. There is no village hidden within Aokigahara's depths of those who have shunned the outside world. It does make for a good story though. Homicidal lurkers. This legend makes the rounds on the internet with surprising regularity. Word has it that homicidal maniacs lurk in Aokigahara's depths, waiting for new victims to claim. It's the perfect crime, isn't it? A treacherous, near impenetrable forest that most are scared to enter. Just a few meters off the track, and you'll find yourself in an environment where everything looks the same. It's dark, oppressive, and nothing but moss-covered ground and the same rotting trees everywhere you look. There's no telling which way you came from or which way is back. If you get lost, it'll take a long time for a search team to mobilize and start looking for you. Plenty of time for someone to make you actually disappear. For good. Not to mention the large number of people who visit Aokigahara to end their own lives. These people, supposedly, are the homicidal maniac's most favoured targets. After all, they came here to kill themselves in the first place. That generally means they'll have wrapped up everything back in their home life before they set out. Many people who have made the decision to commit suicide will first make sure to tie up all loose ends. They'll cancel phone contracts, close bank accounts, end rental contracts. In doing so, authorities won't need to chase them up for late payments or search for their whereabouts. They don't want to be found, so making sure everything is settled first is a good way to disappear from the world. The perfect crime. Scenes like this have featured in horror media before, usually delivered with a line like, "You wanted to kill yourself, right? Well, I'll do it for you." After all, who is going to be able to tell the difference between a murder and a suicide in a forest popularly known as the suicide forest? A murder committed in summer could see the body turn to bones within a few short weeks. By that point, there's likely to be little evidence left suggesting that this could have been anything other than a suicide. But is it true? Do murderers really lurk in the forest, sating their bloodlust on those unfortunate enough to cross their path? The answer is probably not. But there is a chance. Just like with rumors of the bears, it's impossible to say that people like this don't visit Aokigahara. The rumors don't suggest these people live in the forest. They just visit it for fun. They could be regular, everyday folk who visit in their free time to indulge in their deepest, darkest fantasies. Bodies have been found that showed signs of injuries after death, and even bodies that were burnt. Bodies decay so fast and are often ravaged by animals so quickly that it's near impossible to tell. The police do investigate every body they come across in the forest, even those that are nothing more than skeletal remains. But often, it's difficult to tell exactly what happened. How can you confirm a person was strangled to death if all you have left are their bones? How can you tell that a person was stabbed if animals have already eaten most of their flesh and scraped at the bones? This is a legend that can't really be proven one way or the other. At best, it's highly unlikely. It's a lot of work for someone to go in the hopes that they'll just happen across someone out of view from the public. Even if they patrol the common suicide zone, it's still a massive area and requires a lot of luck to cross someone's path at the right time. But it's not impossible. And if everything lines up right, it really is the perfect crime. To a homicidal maniac, that might be worth the time and effort put in. Most who are familiar with Aokigahara agree that this one is a bit of a stretch, but it's also hard to say with 100% certainty that it has never, ever happened before. Phantom Lake. There are 5 famous lakes that surround Mount Fuji, but did you know that there is another? Legend has it that a mysterious phantom lake exists within the Sea of Trees. It appears and disappears like a mirage in the forest, baffling all who happen to come across it. Even more baffling is that the water is said to be red, like the color of blood. Only 20 meters from National Highway 139, you'll find a small lake called Akaike, or Red Pond. Yes, it's a real lake, and like the legend states, it appears and disappears, showing up roughly once every 10 years. It's for this reason that some also call it the Phantom Lake. There's nothing supernatural about it, however. Akaike is very real, and there's a scientific reason for why it appears and disappears. It's believed to be connected to Lake Shoji through an underground tunnel, and it only appears when the waters of Lake Shoji rise. Calling it a lake may be generous, as it has a diameter of only 70 meters, but it can reach depths of close to 10 meters when full. Until 50 years ago, Akaike was a permanent lake. Said to be connected underground to Lakes Shoji and Saiko, part of what used to be the single and much larger Senoumi, it now sits alone inside Aokigahara. In the past, the lake would freeze during winter, and locals used it for ice skating. However, when several companies moved in and started using the lakes for hydroelectric power generation, the 6th lake of Mount Fuji began to slowly disappear. Now, it only appears when there's an excess of water, and then shortly drains away again. Akaike gets its name from the appearance of the water in the area. When the area near Akaike floods, the earth becomes unable to hold it in, and the water sits on top, turning reddish-brown. It's sadly not a blood lake in the middle of Aokigahara, as awesome as that legend might sound, but it does exist. At least once every 10 years or so, anyway. And that brings us to the end of this week's episode. If you want to know even more about the forest, don't forget to pick up Aokigahara, The Truth Behind Japan's Suicide Forest, on Amazon right now. And if you're looking for even more scary stories, our Patreon will be doing a special for the entirety of October, releasing a new scary story each and every day of the month that you can get immediate access to for just $1. Check us out at patreon.com/TaraADevlin if you want even more Japanese horror. Thanks for listening to this season of Toshiden. I'm not sure when or if we'll be back for a third season yet, but the best way to keep up to date is to join our Japanese horror Discord, or follow me on Twitter at TaraADevlin. You can find the Discord link in the episode description. Kawabana will be continuing as usual, so until next time, I'll see you over there. Want even more scary stories? Head over to kawabana.net for new translations every week. You can also join our Patreon for exclusive stories you won't find anywhere else. Head over to kawabana.net now.